Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamana Tira Vanachari Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamana Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Our glories to Radha and Madhava, Madhava, who play in the kunjas of Vrindavan Dham. All glories to Radha and Madhava, who play in the kunjas of Sri Vrindavan Dham. The lifter of Govardhan, beloved of the gopis, lifter of Govardhan, darling of Jasoda, delighter of the residents of Vrindavan, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Chana Balaba Girivara Dhari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Chana Balaba Girivara Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare about this? The son of Nanda, somehow I've fallen into the ocean of repeated birth and death. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. Oh, son of Ananda, somehow I have fallen into the ocean of repeated birth and death. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. Raise your hand if you want to be an atom. It's quite a change from wanting to be God. I wanted to be God, but now I just want to be an atom at your lotus feet. I wanted to be God, but now I just want to be an atom at your lotus feet. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Taigo Premanandi, Hare Hare Bo. At the end of the retreat in Italy, devotees were doing an exercise for like an hour, and I was chanting, and I was tired, and I was like, I'll just play the harmonium, and I started playing that song. I was thinking, this is a good song for the ending, because it's like the end of a movie song. So it's a perfect song for the end, for the goodbye, right? Goodbye song. But the goodbye songs you can chant forever. What? Yes. Yeah, right. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. One more time, everyone. From your heart. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Taigo Premanandi. Shribadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatyatisthaya. Should we talk about this verse? Verse 5, Siksastakam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatyatisthaya. It's a very interesting concept to want to be an atom. The idea is, it's a very interesting concept to want to be insignificant, isn't it? We are in this world to be significant. And then you come to spiritual life and you learn that's what's going to keep you in the world, is your desire to be significant. And of course, we could desire to be significant in Krishna's service, to do something significant in Krishna's service. That's good. But the idea is to have the ego of I don't need it. You can donate it to all the people who don't live in Florida. We're not used to this. Yeah. I wish it were this cool in Florida right now. Yeah. So, as devotees, we're trying to develop the ego of that I'm not significant. And sometimes it's really difficult because we're so conditioned to want to be significant and want others to think we're significant. But one easy way to understand this idea of I just want to be a piece of dust at your feet, which is of course, dust is not significant. To make it a little easier for us to understand, as Shastra says, we are 1/10,000th the size of a hair. So we're not significant anyway. So we're naturally insignificant. We just think we're significant. So it's not like you're somebody great and I'm telling you to feel like you're not great. No, we are insignificant. We're 1/10,000th the size tip of a hair, and they're unlimited living entities. So if we say I want to be a speck of dust, that's who we are. And it's not even that I want to be a speck of dust in the sense that I already am. I just want to accept and acknowledge and realize that's who I am. It's not like I'm transitioning from something big to something little. I am little. And that's the problem. You know how when sometimes things don't go our way and it's so hard to accept? Sometimes we just can't accept it even when we know there's nothing we can do. That always happens, right? Some loved one is ill and we're praying and it's so hard, or maybe someone has died or they're going to die. It's so hard to accept, even though there's nothing we can do, right? We've all been through it. So what we see here is, what we're talking about here are examples of us not accepting that we're not God. It's really hard to accept we're not God, because if I were God, I could control all these things that I can't control, right? Control all the people I don't like, I could make them the way I like them. I could, get all green lights to work and remove all the traffic and get rid of the bad boss I don't like and so many things that I can't control. All those, I can't accept it, or all this, like I don't want to be insignificant. That's all the desire to be God. That's all it is. And that's why there's so much resistance, because that desire is so strong. I mean, we resist it like tremendously, and we don't even realize we're resisting it. When I say, I can't accept this. Well, you're 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair, and you have no control over this, and you can't accept it? What does that mean? That means it's another way of saying, I wish I were God, and I'm not, and I'm really frustrated that I'm not God, because I can't control this. So every time we're frustrated about something we can't control, We're just saying, I'm frustrated because I'm not God, or God, or a demigod or something. I don't have enough control. And I don't think we realize this, but it's good to realize it because it's true. And it's so hard to accept things we can't control, isn't it? Especially when there are things, when we want it to go right, like desperately want it to go right, and it's going left. It's so frustrating because we can't control it. So, this tendency to want to be God, we don't notice it so much because we're engaged in serving Krishna, so we don't think we have it, right? But these are signs that we have it. You really want to be a speck? Do you really want to offer respect to everyone? And this one, do you really want no respect from anybody? I don't think so. That's like, to get no respect from anyone. That's a very elevated state of spiritual life, and we all want respect. Of course, we need some appreciation just to get out of bed, to know that I have a purpose. But appreciation and wanting to be recognized, they're different. I want my guru to recognize that I did some service, but I'm not doing it so that my false ego can be inflated. I'm doing it because I want to please him, and I want to be encouraged. I want to know that what I'm doing is pleasing. That's different. So when we look at our need to be in the center or glorified or honored, or our envy, when we're envious of somebody because they're better than us, that's all I want to be Krishna stuff. That's what it is, and that's why it's so strong. And we say, we have the saying, I'm playing God. Of course, it's a misnomer because God doesn't play like us. I'm playing God, you're going to have a big false ego. Well, God doesn't have a big false ego, but we understand when we say I'm playing God, I'm trying to imitate him. Envy is another example of imitation. Why is envy so strong? Because the desire to be God is strong. Why do we hate so strongly? Because we hate not being God. So we don't notice these things because our general consciousness is, I'm serving Krishna, I'm a devotee of Krishna, I'm part and parcel. But all these other things are symptoms of how difficult it is to just be a piece of dust, right? Raise your hand if you want to be a piece of dust. Of course, everyone will raise their hand, but in real life, when it comes down to it, nah, not me. I'd rather be a mountain than a piece of dust. If I'm a piece of dust, then, I have no position. No one's going to know me. How many, like do you even know anything about your great-grandparents? Only one. I don't know anything about mine. Raise your hand if you know something about your great-grandparents already. How often do you think of them? What about their parents? What about your great-grandparents' uncle and aunt and their best friend and what their best friend did in their life, So I'm very significant and I want to be recognized, but the reality is after I die, a few years later, a few people will remember me, but most people in this world will not know that I existed and it won't matter. So we're thinking we're very significant. Yeah, maybe for a few people while you're alive. But, after we go. At least, if you're a pure devotee, yeah, you'll be significant and remembered. If you do something which is immortalized, which is rare, but how significant are we? We're so significant that no one's going to remember us. Right? Like all your anxieties and frustrations and desires and needs and challenges and successes, nobody's going to know about it. And if they did, most people wouldn't even care anyway. So, that's the challenge we have, isn't it? So, that envy that I have, that jealousy, that need to be honored, that desire to control beyond what is proper, that inability to accept things I can't change, all of that, it's all saying, I want to be God, and I don't like being a little piece of dust. Which is unfortunate, because the goal of Krishna consciousness is to be a piece of dust at Krishna's feet, or a piece of dust at your Guru's feet, or a piece of dust at Raghunath Das Goswami's feet, or Rupa Goswami's feet. That's the goal. Wow. If they had told you that when you first came to the temple, you would have never come back. What is the goal of Krishna consciousness? The goal of Krishna consciousness is to be a piece of dust at the feet of your Guru. These guys are nuts. Let me out of here. Right? Yes? When you go to the spiritual center, what's the goal? The goal is to become God. Oh, where do I sign? You know, I like this stuff. Become God. This resonates deeply with me. Yeah. So, I think it's also significant to, I was saying last night, Sarvatma Snapanam, Purnamrita Svadanam. Purna means full, Amrita means nectar, Svadana means taste. Tasting the full nectar for which we're always anxious. Prabhupada, I don't know if that's in the Sanskrit, for which we're always anxious, or what we're always looking for. I think that's so significant, because the nectar we're looking for is in Krishna consciousness, but we look for it outside of Krishna consciousness. And so Mahaprabhu is saying, everywhere you're looking to enjoy this world, that thing that you're looking for, that taste you're looking for, it's in the holy name. It's not in the thing you're looking at. Isn't that beautiful? I'm looking at the nectar for becoming something in this world. And Mahaprabhu is saying, you won't find the nectar you're looking for in that. You'll find it in the holy name. And it's so beautiful to remember, because it makes it easier. It makes it easier to pull back from this envy and this jealousy and control and need for recognition and all of this, when you realize that everything you think you're going to get from those things, you'll get from the holy name. It's not in those things. Those things they're just like illusions saying that you will find what you're looking for in this, but they're not there. That's what Maya is. You know, the word Maya means not this. Prabhupada translates Maya as illusion. What is an illusion? Illusion is an appearance of something, but it's not there, but you think it's there, and then you go for it, and it just, like, you can't find it because it's not there, but it just looks like it's there. Right? So Maya paints these pictures, and then we look at the pictures, but the pictures she paints are not real. It just looks like it's real, and you run after it because you're thinking you're going to get what your heart desires from it. But then you go there and it's not there, and it's never there, and we have this experience over and over again in our lives. It's never there. And Mahaprabhu says, it's in the holy name. That's what you're looking for in everything in your life, it's in the holy name. Wow. That's amazing, isn't it? And I would extend that to say that everything we're looking for is in the consciousness of being a particle of dust at Krishna's feet. That is like we have to reorient our consciousness that is so beautiful, that is so high, that's what we want. You actually want to be a piece of dust. You want to be an insignificant piece of dust at Krishna's feet. That's actually what you want, even though the false ego says, no way. You want to offer respects to everyone. You don't want any for yourself. The false ego says, no way, I want lots of respect for me, and why should I respect all these other fools? You know, I'm better than them. Isn't it? And so Mahaprabhu is saying, yeah, and you think you're going to get something from that? It's an illusion. It's not there. Maya is so good. She's so good. She can paint an illusion, and you can run after it. And when you run after it, you see, wow, that was not there. And you can have that experience multiple times, and you'll still run after it. Purnamrita Swadanam. But the nectar you're looking for is in your japa, and then you're chanting japa, and your mind's distracted, thinking about a million things. When actually everything you're looking for is in the name if you just hear it and listen to it. Isn't that amazing? Maya is just incredible. So, if you want to be significant, do something significant in Krishna service. Then you'll be significant, even though we are small. And so we become significant in realizing we're small, because then we can become empowered, let Krishna empower us. Right? That's our philosophy. If you want to be significant and do something significant, you first have to start with the realization you're not significant, and you can't do anything significant. And then you can be empowered to do something significant. That's how it works. So, and I've said, recently I was saying that, because I've gone to a lot of festivals and met a lot of devotees, and the one thing that I keep noticing is that with advanced devotees, you can't praise them. When you praise them, you can't get anything back. Prabhu, that was a great class. Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Yeah. I give good classes. Yeah. What do you expect from me? I only give good classes. You don't get anything back. They're just like, that was a great class. It's just like nothing. They show no attraction at all for being honored. There's just nothing. It hits it. It's like dropping a match in wet grass. You say this to them and nothing happens. Like, I see this over and over again with advanced devotees. It's really hard to get any reaction from them when you praise them. Like any normal reaction, so-called normal. And the reason is because they're not looking for it. It's not where they find their nectar. They're not finding their nectar in being praised. They're finding their nectar in being an insignificant servant of Krishna, because that's where you find everything that you want. Right? Purnamrita Swadanam. The full nectar for which we're always anxious is in being insignificant. And that's why the ultimate ambition of the pure devotees is just to be insignificant servant. And that's the greatest thing is to be insignificant. Isn't that weird? The greatest thing in my life is to be insignificant. Hare Krishna. When I was a child, they had a show, and they had kids on the show like 6 years old, and they'd ask them questions, and they'd always ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a baseball player. Nobody said, I want to be a piece of dust at the feet of Lord Krishna. They missed that. Right? What are you studying in the university? I'm studying to be a this or that. I really want to be a doctor. Okay, that's fine. No problem. But simultaneously, this desire to be insignificant, it has to be there in our lives. That's the basis of everything. So, I love this verse for japa. And so when we're chanting japa, we can think of this verse and think, Krishna, help me want to be insignificant, because I really don't want to be. And I go in the temple in Mayapur and there's 3,000 devotees. I don't want to be the one in the back that nobody sees, at least in the middle. At least let people know I'm here. It's like Takahari Sanatana Goswami, they wouldn't go in the temple, and I'm low caste, I'm low class, I won't go in the Jagannath temple. And you have this example. Srila Prabhupada said Sanatana and Rupa, they were like scholars. They knew a few languages really well, or maybe multiple, I don't know how many languages. They were scholars, and they were ministers in the government, so they were like highly qualified. And when they met Mahaprabhu, it's like, I have no qualification, I'm nobody. They were definitely somebody by material standards, but their Krishna conscious so-called ego Yeah, you could say their Krishna conscious ego was that I'm nothing. I'm unqualified. Because, sometimes when someone's materially qualified and they come to Krishna consciousness, then they think they're spiritually qualified automatically because they're materially qualified. Because I'm smart. I'm gonna master this Krishna consciousness easily because everything I do, I always excel. I got all A's in school. I was on this team and that team. I was always the best, number one in this. I'll become a devotee. I'll just be the best devotee. Yeah, sorry, Prabhu. It doesn't work like that. If your goal is to become the best devotee, you'll be lucky if Krishna even lets you stay. Yeah, it's true. Krishna wants to show you you're not the best devotee. It's not how you become best. So going back to the advanced devotees, and you try to praise them. Why don't you get anything from them? Because they're just happy being nobody, even though they're somebody. That's their happiness. It's not like Prabhupada came to America so he can make a mark in Gaudiya Vaishnavism as a great acharya. That certainly was not his mood. And so, if that's our mood in service, I want to make a mark, so, everywhere I go in ISKCON, people will be like, whoa, there's Toshan Krishna. He be the man. And then it's like, okay, now I can go to Mayapur, 'cause people know about me. No, we want to go to Mayapur and say, I hope nobody recognizes me. One time I was in the temple in Mayapur and I was looking around, I was like, oh my God, I'm the oldest devotee, not in years, but in initiation. At that point, I was like, I was the oldest devotee in the temple, Not always, but... And I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. I was too old at that point to think that's like I could toot my own horn or something. But if I was younger, I might think, oh, I'm the oldest devotee here, Where's the Maha? Where's the foot bath? Come on, Don't you know who I am? Don't you know who you're talking to? That's... So, obviously, this is diametrically opposed to material consciousness, but it's good that we acknowledge it. What is material consciousness? What is Krishna consciousness? So at least when you're chanting, you can pray, Krishna, help me develop... Maybe I don't want to be a piece of dust, but at least help me desire to be a piece of dust. Help me to understand the value of that, so that at least someday that desire will be there. And then, Purnamita Svadanam, then you'll get what you're looking for. You all know that what you're looking for is not in Maya, because you're looking for love, and love does not exist in matter. Matter does not produce love. So every time you think, this will make me happy, if it's something material, it might make you happy temporarily, or might give you pleasure or give you comfort, but it won't make you happy deep down, because that only Krishna can do. So it's always good to remember that. Otherwise, we just keep doing it over and over and over. And over it doesn't work. Hare Krishna. And like I was saying last night, it's so unfortunate when we have the holy name and we don't taste it, because that's the thing that's going to help us the most, right? And we don't taste it, then it's like, that's danger. It's a very dangerous position to not have some taste for chanting. It really is, because that's Krishna's, I think the holy name is Krishna's greatest form of love to us, because the holy name it's so valuable. I think it was Sanatana Goswami, he said, the greatest thing in Krishna's treasury is his holy name. That's such a beautiful thought. If you went to Krishna and you said, Krishna, can you give me the most valuable thing you have? And he gives you a mantra card. He goes, well, here's the most valuable thing I have. And you go, that's just a mantra card, you know. Yeah, that's the most valuable thing I have. This is the sound vibration of love, and if you take this sound, you will get love. Wow. What could be more valuable than that? And then, to not use it and appreciate it, what could be worse than that? Hare Krishna. Okay. If you have any discussion, anything to discuss, share, or ask, then let's do it. Yes?
I find it interesting how there are many examples of when people are insignificant or feel themselves like that, they are remembered as the opposite.
Yeah.
Like with George Harrison, he said the thing that impressed me the most about Prabhupada was that he never tried to impress anyone.
Beautiful. Yes. That's pretty impressive. I love that. That's great. Hare Krishna. What's the most impressive thing about Prabhupada? That he didn't try to impress anybody. Yeah, that really impressed me.
Is it a t-shirt?
That sounds good. What would it say exactly? If you want to be impressive, don't try to impress anybody. Something like that. Mm-hmm. He also said, I think he also said that Prabhupada was always the same. Like every time you met him, it wasn't like he was being pulled around by the material world, and sometimes in a bad mood, sometimes angry. I think he said that, or he said that it's always an example of what he taught. Yeah, if that's coming from him, that's quite a compliment. Because he's probably around a lot of famous and talented people. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna. Yes?
Prabhu, I have an eternal question, seems, about this point with the dust. Yes, I don't want to be a piece of dust, that's for sure. But I also don't understand the theology, because we hear about the spiritual world where there's water, trees, and gopis and gopas. We don't hear it. He's just playing with lots of pieces of dust.
Yeah.
I don't understand if the soul is.
Well, it's you want the ego of dust, not that you want to be a piece of dust. And Prabhupada said we should not desire to be animals in the spiritual world, or grass, or trees. I read that recently. We want the ego of dust. That's the idea. But one time Prabhupada was asked, what does it mean to be a piece of dust? Or a similar question, he said, that's I want to be a piece of dust at the feet of my Guru. That means to follow his instruction. So that's another idea. But it's without false ego, without pride. That's the idea. Like grass. Dust or grass. You chant your rounds, you can pray to Krishna for the ego of dust. Because, that is who we are. We are a blade of grass, so I can pray for that.
Sure, but I don't understand it, and I don't accept it.
Don't understand what?
Well, this whole thing, the repetition of 110,000 bars and tip of the hair.
You don't like that?
Already annoys me. Yeah, definitely. Because I don't understand it. How is it, if the soul is unchanging?
Yes.
How is that true if in the spiritual world we have our spiritual body and we have all these varieties and he's not playing with midgets? I just don't understand.
But yeah, because the soul expands into that form in the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, you'll be happy to know you are the body. So you don't have to do this 110,000 thing anymore.
So is that like maybe a kind of a measurement, a measure or a punishment for souls who fall into the material world? They just shrink into like their essence?
Well, that's another question, if you ever were in the spiritual world.
Well, not go there. But if that's...
That's who we are here, anyway. That's who we are now.
But is that then some kind of a part of the whole, like, existence?
The whole mess we created, yeah.
Yes.
It is. You could say it's a punishment. It is, because we have an eternal spiritual form and we're not in it now, so that's a punishment. It's self-created punishment, of course.
So that means then that even though the soul is unchanging,
It can grow.
expand.
Yeah, yeah. It's unchanging, it's eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. That's not going to change.
And
But once you get your eternal form, that's it. Hope you like it. You will, don't
better
worry.
than this other thing.
You will like it, yeah.
So can we maybe just have to be now, but if you...
Have to be what?
It doesn't have to be now, but if I can get a quote where that is explained, it was probably in the book.
Oh, where the soul expands?
Yeah.
I don't,
It's been bothering me decades.
I don't. I've only heard that multiple times from different devotees, but I don't know the source. But obviously, we will have a form in the spiritual world, and we are spirit soul. So, spirit soul in the material world is encaged in a physical body. There it is the physical. There it is the body. So, I think it's logical. I think you have an eternal form, and you could say that it's compressed into this form, or you could say we're eternally in this form until we go to the spiritual world where we manifest our real body. And so, we want to be the body here because that's where all the enjoyment comes from, the body and the ego and all that. But pure devotee knows he's not the body, so there's nothing connected with that false identity. That's why, I don't want to be insignificant, but when you're self-realized, it's not a question of you want or don't. That's just who you are, and you realize it. Right? So, yeah. I mean, if someone could give you a realization that you're not the body, you're spirit soul, then there'd be no fight, because that would be your realization. The fight is, it's still we want it, to some degree we identify with the body, which means so many things, my abilities, my intelligence, my beauty, my wealth, whatever. And to say, Rati, it's not like we're not like saying, oh, Rati, you're not this, you're not that. We're just saying that's not, you are that, but it's not it's not you eternally. But it's not like you don't have good qualities, and it's not like you can't do things well and have these talents. It's just that's not who you are eternally. So if you identify with your talent, then that's false ego. But it's not that you don't have it. It's not that you can't use it. Like we do an exercise, we just did in Italy, where you share with your partner what you like about yourself. And the idea is to acknowledge that Krishna has given you so many gifts. And we can use them for him, but it's not false ego. Well, I'm proud only in the sense that I'm proud that I'm happy that I have these qualities and I can use them. And if I use them and it's appreciated by others, that's a great gift for me. But I don't think I'm better than others because I have it. I don't try to control others because I have it. And I don't identify with that because I know it's just comes with this body.
It's more great gratitude.
Yeah. And I don't want to identify with anything related to the body because that's illusory. And I want to glorify my Guru, I want to glorify Krishna, I want the glory to be there. And whatever glory I have, I realize it's coming from them, and I want to use it to glorify them. Then, Purnamrita Swadanam, then we can taste nectar. That's why we can't taste nectar, because we're trying to taste it through false ego. And it's like, you know what that's like. That's like good for a while, It's not like Krishna says in the Gita, you can't be happy materially. He says there's happiness in the three modes of nature, but it's not Purnamrita Swadanam. So like, we go to the beach and the weather's nice and we have a great time. It's pleasure, but it's not Purnamrita Swadanam, unless we were doing Krishna Katha. So It's important to distinguish what this Purnamrita Swadanam, the taste that we really want, the taste we want is love. That's what we want. So, you know, you can go swimming, but you don't get love. You just have a good time. So you come back and you had, well, that was a great time, and still you don't have love. Right? That's the problem. And when we overcome false ego, then we can love Krishna. Because we're no longer competing with him. I don't know if you heard that realization I had when I was in the hospital. I couldn't compete with Krishna because my body was practically dead. So there was I couldn't enjoy it. So I was no longer the enjoyer. Couldn't control it. Couldn't even control practically anything. So I was no longer able to control or enjoy it. And it was that point that I was the most Krishna conscious I'd ever been. And I realized, oh, this is interesting. When you no longer are competing with Krishna, then he pulls the curtain. So it's okay. Now I can show you who I am because you don't want to be me. But as long as you want to be me, you get different shades of curtains. You know, some are, you know, the light comes through more. Some are just black, tamagun, you know. And it was like crazy. I was like, this is amazing. You know, when you no longer want to enjoy Krishna, then it's like, okay, now we can talk. You know, but like, I'm not going to give you all these jewels and nectar when you're still like thinking about being me. Yeah, that's not going to work. So that was my realization, which was, it was crazy. I never had that before, where I just felt like there was nothing between me and Krishna for like a couple of weeks. Because during that time, because there was no thought of enjoyment, because it was impossible. I was like, wow. And everything, you know, I couldn't enjoy anything. So it was like you could put anything in front of me. It was like everything I'd ever wanted, put it in front of me. It's like, I can't enjoy it. I don't have a body to enjoy it. That's how a pure devotee is. And therefore, Krishna is just like there for him. Totally. So that's the problem, everyone. In a nutshell. We want to enjoy like Krishna. So Krishna consciousness, okay, you want to enjoy it, use it for Krishna. Like we were talking last night, or the other night, 2 nights ago. Use it. As long as Krishna enjoys it, it's okay. Right? You want to eat this, you cook it because you like it, but you offer it to Krishna, he enjoys it. That's okay. But at some point, when you love him, you couldn't possibly think of enjoying anything independently of him. It's impossible. And that's when Krishna just speaks to you, and that's when you see him. And there's no curtain. And all the unhappiness we have is because there's a curtain there. You're chanting Hare Krishna, there's a curtain there, and you're not tasting anything. Like, that's terrible, isn't it? It's painful. What if Krishna removed the curtain and you realized the holy name was Krishna? Oh my God, you'd probably faint. Roll on the ground, scream. You know, we read about these symptoms of bhava. You know, it's in the Guru Vastakam we chant every morning. Right? Mangalarti, Mahaprabhu. Actually, it's Mahaprabhu, not Prabhu. Mahaprabhu, Kirtana Nritya, Paditramajan Manasam, Romancha Kampashu, the hairs of my body, standing in Kampashu, the voice is choking up, tears coming out of. Can you imagine? Like that's totally abnormal. You don't see that anywhere. Where someone has a thought or a loved one, and when they think of them, they roll on the ground and cry, and the hair stand on end, and they choke. Do you ever see that? Maybe it's not, your loved one dies, maybe. So, that Krishna is so beautiful and so attractive that it can create that kind of emotion in us. Hare Krishna. That's amazing, isn't it, to think of? Like like if I show you something beautiful, how beautiful would it have to be for you to faint when you see it? I show you, look at this painting, Kirtan, look at this painting I did, and she looks at it, she falls over. Does that ever happen when someone goes to an art gallery? Or how about a fashion show, when people are fainting, because people are so beautiful, or a concert and people are streams of tears coming from their eyes. Puddles, or the whole concert hall is full of water. People are screaming and banging their head on the ground. You never see that. So just imagine this Krishna that we're associating with, and this covering we have, and we're tasting little lights coming through. That's all. Because of our desire to enjoy. And imagine when that desire goes away and the curtain's pulled, then you can't take it. It's too heavy. You just faint. Which is why I say when you achieve the state of bhava, don't chant while you drive, because you'll faint and crash. At least you'll cry and you won't be able to see. And I think we could say also that Prabhupada, on many occasions, was restraining his ecstasy because it's not proper to demonstrate it, so he was restraining it. Sometimes he couldn't. And it's quite unusual for us to see, because he's chanting Jai Radha Madhava, and he goes into ecstasy, or he's saying something about how merciful Krishna is, how merciful Mahaprabhu is, and he chokes and he stops. And we all heard the same thing, and we're just sitting there like, okay, he's merciful, what time's prasadam? And Prabhupada, it's like, so we saw it. And it's apparently the same thing. If you just saw Prabhupada do kirtan, you would see like how much emotion. You could see it. It was like containing it, but it was there. So it's something to think about. Like there's the Krishna is so attractive, but I'm not experiencing it because I want to compete with him. But it's there, and when that desire to compete with him is purified, then Krishna will say, okay, now I will show you. Now you will taste the nectar of the name. Now you'll really get it. And once you get that, it's like everything else insignificant, right? So then, at that point, when you get that Purnamrita Swadanam, at that point, fame, this desire, that desire. I'm just, with Krishna. Like, what do I care what size my ego is? I'm with Krishna. But that little ego is what got me with Krishna, so why would I want to increase it? Because then Krishna will say, okay, forget you. Huh? Yeah, Hare Krishna. So if we're chanting japa, doing kirtan, we're not crying, we should think, yeah, I've got some work to do. That's a problem. And sometimes we cry because we're not getting the taste. That's there also. Yes?
There's a book written by His Grace Mahatma Prabhu. It's called Srila Prabhupada, Our Srila Prabhupada, a Friend to All.
Yes.
And it's about his years before he came to the West. And she has interviewed like 70 devotees in Vrindavan and who knew him before. And I know I almost finished this book.
Can I give you this? And if you speak into this, we'll be able to hear you.
Thank you. Shall I repeat it?
Yeah.
Yes. It is in regard to what you said, that Srila Prabhupada had ecstasies, but he contained them. Mm-hmm. So I'm reading this book called Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. It's written by Her Grace Mula Prakriti Devi Dasi. And she has went to great lengths to speak with contemporaries of Srila Prabhupada, so who were with him when he was married or when he took vanaprastha or sannyas, and she has interviewed them. All the interviews are translated, and they're mostly short, but there are many interesting things about Srila Prabhupada which show his nature. And also many times they speak about how he was crying, and apparently maybe at that time he was different because he was not everyone's guru. I don't know, but it's so heartwarming and beautiful to see how what he's made of, how it was always there already, and he was not even having a dhoti properly on, and he was speaking about he would go to the West and he will preach, and people said we didn't believe him, he was so poor, but now we can see what he has done. Yes. Yeah. So it's a nice book if you want to get more deeper into the personality of Srila Prabhupada, I would recommend you to get this book.
What's the name of the book? My Srila Prabhupada?
Our Srila Prabhupada, a friend to all.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember one story where, if I remember correctly, maybe you remember this also. A man wanted to see Prabhupada, I believe it was in Radha Damodar temple, and he didn't want to disturb Prabhupada if he were sleeping or whatever, so he peeped through the keyhole, or so he peeped in somehow, and Prabhupada was chanting and crying. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Anyway, it's there in Shastra, and then of course Mahaprabhu exhibited it. But it's very rare. It's very rare to see these things.
Yeah, there's a tiny story also. Prabhupada was living in Radha Damodar temple, and he was with a friend, and they were taking chapatis and discussing Krishna Katha. And there were these fancy Indians visiting, maybe from Delhi, rich, and they were looking, is there anything going on here in this temple, like a program? And they looked at, just saw Prabhupada and his friend, and then they left. And Prabhupada said, they're looking and they're seeing these two old men eating chapatis, but they don't know what plans Mahaprabhu has for this old man.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wow. Fantastic. Anyone else? Here, give him the... Just hold that note. The people on Facebook will hear you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I heard Bhakticharu Swami saying, I don't bother how much money you are getting for the programs. I don't bother how much bigger programs you are making. I only bother how you are progressing in devotional service.
Yes.
So,
Prabhupada said that to Bhakticharu Swami.
Okay.
Yes.
So, preacher sitting on a Vasasan gives a generic instructions which might not be compatible for me. So, I go to my Shiksha Guru and ask him to elaborately guide me how to practically do it.
Okay.
If that Shiksha Guru is running a center, he says like getting more devotees is devotional service.
Yeah.
If he is into fundraising, he says like getting more funds is devotional service.
Yes.
So no one is actually really bothered to pull me up in devotional service. No one is bothered to ask if you are reading Prabhupada books. Is it what Prabhupada said? Are you day by day increasing your love towards Krishna? Because that's what happened where we are bringing like a lot of devotees. After a year, no one is left. Only 2 or 3 people are left. Mm-hmm. And again we bring devotees and no one is left. Yeah. People are coming, going. But how should we practically get that instructions from Shiksha Guru? Multiple Shiksha Gurus. Everyone have their own project. They think like developing their project is the path of progressing towards Bhakti. Then how to, day by day get a correct instructions practically. So we will also strive to improve the project. Also we should grow ourselves. So we should grow our devotion towards Krishna. How to day by day get that instructions?
Find a Siksha Guru and tell him you want instructions how to progress in spiritual life. And as far as service, that should be of secondary importance. I mean, I would not say that most Siksha Gurus are concerned only with service. That's not really what a Siksha Guru does. I mean, theoretically, they are concerned with your spiritual progress. Yesterday, this devotee was saying she was only chanting 3 rounds a day, and what to do and all that. And she said, well, what's more important, quality or quantity? I said, if you get quality, you'll get quantity. So if you get your spiritual life, the service is just a natural byproduct. So most Siksha Gurus would understand that. I mean, they want to give you service, of course, but that comes after your focus on your spiritual life. It's like Prabhupada said, health, sadhana, and service. So sadhana is before service. So if you have Siksha Gurus who are not doing that, find one who will do it, or tell those Siksha Gurus, like, I have service, that's good. I need spiritual life. You want to hear an interesting story? Prabhupada was in Los Angeles. Los Angeles had many departments, and so he was visiting the art department, the graphics department. They had a music studio. They had an incense business. They had the BBT headquarters. So they brought Prabhupada to all these departments, and he was encouraging everybody. Whatever service you're doing, he was encouraging. And then he went to the spiritual sky incense business, and he saw them, and he didn't say anything. Everyone else he encouraged. Distribute books, paint for Krishna, sing for Krishna, lay out books for Krishna. But he didn't say, do business for Krishna. And they said, Prabhupada, you encouraged everyone. Why didn't you encourage us? And he said, because you're all inclined to do business, you need encouragement with your sadhana. So if I encourage you in your business, you would just reduce your sadhana even more. So I think we could say from Prabhupada's example, he did both. He did both, but look at all his books. All his books are emphasizing the consciousness with which to do the service. So even if Prabhupada stressed the service, we have all the books stressing the consciousness, right? So I think it's also up to us, because a lot of devotees during Prabhupada's time would also stress service, but you can't say that it's because Prabhupada stressed it. You have to say it's because, you can't say it's not because he stressed it, but they overly stressed it because they neglected the sadhana. And that was never what Prabhupada gave us. So a lot of times it's just individuals' interpretation. But for you, I would say, knowing this, then you should always have boundaries. That I have to do this sadhana. This is my, you want me to do the service, that's fine, but this is what I do first. And so you can protect yourself, if need be. But, in the perfect world, Siksha Guru is instructing you in your spiritual life. And the managers are instructing you in service. That's the perfect ISKCON world. In the GBC had discussed this, and they said that let the gurus teach, but don't engage devotees who are already engaged in temple service. Let the managers engage them in temple service. Let the gurus inspire them to do that service through sadhana, through inspiration, spiritual inspiration. So that's how it's supposed to be. So if it's not that way, you can adjust it yourself as needed. And naturally, managers, they think like that, but the managers may be Siksha Gurus also. And some people have said Siksha Gurus and managers should be two different jobs. So then you don't have that problem. And there's some truth to that. Okay, what else?
Maharaj, about this service, Narada Muni, while in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, while giving instructions to Vyasadeva, it's 1.5.32. He says glorifying Krishna is the only way to get out of this miserable material life. If that's not possible, then you do service.
Depends who you're talking to, right? Because, like we're saying, but service and glorifying Krishna, they go together. They're different. They're different rails of the train. You need two rails. So there's so much you won't realize if you don't do service. Like Krishna says, I'm known through service. So it has to be there, but it's all in balance. So Prabhupada had at least wanted us to attend at least 2 classes every day. And then he said 9 to 5 are banking hours. And we have this idea of the ISKCON sandwich. The ISKCON sandwiches in the morning we hear and chant, in the day we do service, and in the evening we hear and chant. And that's how Prabhupada arranged it. So 9 to 5 are banking hours, means that's when you do your service. But especially when any time devotees had problems, Prabhupada was always back to sadhana. Are you chanting your rounds? Are you following the principles? Are you sufficiently hearing, reading my books, like that? So that's not the only thing he wanted us to do. But when he saw some problems in temples, sometimes he would say, increase the hearing and chanting. And other times he said, well, that we do it in the morning and the evening, and that's sufficient. So, but you need service.
But preference is always glorifying Krishna. That's
well, your service is glorifying Krishna also. That's a way of doing it. Prabhupada said, typing is chanting Hare Krishna. You're typing, and so, but sufficient hearing and chanting. Of course, if you're a teacher or a book distributor, you're always glorifying Krishna because that's your service. So that's nice. Anything else?
Maharaj, today is his birthday.
Oh, evil.
What are we going to do?
We will chant song and then the song, birthday song.
Panchakalpa Tirubhisha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. The birthday blessing devotees give is that you never take birth again. That's the blessing. May you never take birth again. May you never take birth again. May you never take birth again in this material world. May you take birth in Braja. May you take birth in Sri Vrindavan Dham. May you take birth in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Never. Oh, that's yes. And take birth in Sri Vrindavan Dham. That's good. That's the goal. And you'll do that by hearing and chanting, for sure. Yes. Okay. Mahaprasadi Govinde. I like to sing it. We'll sing it together. We used to, in the old days of ISKCON, we didn't know Bengali, so we only said this song in English. And then we started saying it in Bengali, and nobody knows what it means. Right? How many of you know Bengali? Raise your hand. Sure. If you sing it in English, you might get indigestion. This material body is a place of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. But Krishna is so kind, He's given us prasadam to take and glorify Him all the time. This material body is a place of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Of all the senses, the tongue is the most uncontrollable. But Krishna is so kind, He's given us prasadam to control the tongue. So now let us take to our full satisfaction and glorify Radha and Krishna, and call out for the help of Chaitanya and Nitai. Hare